Hello, everyone. I'm Annalisa.
I'm Salina, McNamara.
We're here live for episode 20 of Let's Talk Soul to Soul. Thank you for your patience with us today. We are in Salina's beautiful home, actually at the birthplace of Jai, sweet sunshine Jai, who's just fallen asleep. So
That's why we're late.
we were enjoying that process, you know? I was, for sure.
Yeah.
Just watching his sweet little body and his little head there moving around and finding a comfy spot, and he's found that spot. So we're going to dive into a beautiful conversation today with not only my soul sister, but my neighbor. Salina lives literally just, steps away.
Literally steps away.
Literally steps away.
Yeah.
So we decided we would have our conversation here together. So
yeah, it's so nice to sit with you.
I know, me too. We're usually passing. And as you're joining, please get yourselves comfortable. If you're anywhere in the Rockies, you might need a hot drink.
Today, for sure.
We had some snow today. Surprise. But get yourselves comfortable. We will put out a recording of this live, so you're welcome to share it with your friends. Salina, you'll be able to post on your, however you get it out there for others. And I'm just so honored that you're joining me today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited.
So, my friends, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Annalisa, and Let's Talk Soul to Soul was birthed. Really was birthed. There's no other, that's the best description of it.
Yes.
In December 2023, out of a desire for me to reintegrate myself into the world and find new ways of connecting and creating sacred spaces for souls to find ease and for people's authentic selves to shine, no matter what their age, stage of life, status. It's these beautiful stories that connect us. And that's how I started with, this Instagram has live. We might as well, let's just try this.
Yeah.
It seems simple. And now I think I've rounded maybe second base. So for anyone who's new to Instagram, you can do it. And you know what? When you believe in someone or something, there's always a way. There's always a way. That's why we're here. So my path has crossed with Salina's many times. Salina came to the Valley in 2015, but it wasn't until you moved here, which was...
Well, 2015 I moved to Banff.
Yeah.
Then we went out to Kananaskis for a while. And then moved back.
So you've been living in
this building since 2018, I think it was.
Since 2018. And Salina, you stood out as a bright light. You, your dear husband, Ben, beautiful daughter, Kira, and now Jai. Just this family that there was a love that was tangible, really tangible.
Thank you.
And I so appreciated how open you were with sharing your kids, your experiences with us, with me in particular. I don't have children, but I feel that sense of connection with all.
Yes.
So
they love my Auntie Anna.
Thank you. And so for those of you joining us, this is going to be a conversation. And the goal of the intention of Soul to Soul is to shine the light on stories of everyday people like you and me, like Salina, who are finding new ways to put themselves out there in alignment who have found a way to express themselves, their passion, their purpose. And so for Salina, I'm just going to share a little bit of background. I had to write it down to keep me focused. It's so exciting. So Salina, home birth mama of 2. And I love your intention, your desire to hold space for women to find their power through knowing, trusting, and honoring themselves. And I know, Salina, you do this in so many ways, including, was it 8 years on the board with the YWCA?
Yeah. I've been the director on the board here at the YWCA for just under 8 years.
Yeah.
I started as a director, moved into the chair position, and then I'll be finishing up my term this July.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I know you'll be missed, because I'm also I am part of a nominating committee.
That's right. Yes.
And
thank you.
No, thank you. I thank you. And through all this, Salina has had 2 children of her own within this home, and your passion now is to empower women to birth fearlessly. I love that. Salina, I'm going to share one quote, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. The ability to create life and bring forth life, to rise to the challenge, to work so powerfully within our body and with that little spirit that grew there, is a gift, and not the cruel injustice that I had considered it to be for so long. You speak of these moments, these goddess moments, of all moments being magic. And so, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah.
Salina.
No, thank you, Annalisa.
I'm going to sit in this comfy chair Salina brought out for me. Thank you.
Yeah, back in the day, if you hadn't met me years and years ago, I thought it was an injustice. As the woman, we have to have our period, we menstruate, we are the ones that have to birth the child. And this was born of a place of fear and of listening to stories that were terrifying, honestly. They talked poorly about exactly these things that are very natural, womanly things to go through. And whilst we may not all choose that, if we do, we are the ones that must. And I remember just kind of jumping towards, I'd had Kira here in this home, and I remember stepping out of my bathtub and walking into my bedroom. My Ben was there doing skin to skin with her in our bed. And I just thought, oh my goodness, no matter how much he might ever want to have this experience that I had just had, he could never do that. And I felt that was sad, because for me, it was this mind-blowing experience that was more than I could have ever imagined. I think it's something you can read stories, you can witness a birth, you can listen to things about it, but until you actually are in that moment, it's something that's really hard to put into words. It's hard to understand how it changes you. It's that maiden to motherhood journey. It's a transition. It's an initiation. It's incredible, and I couldn't believe I thought about it so poorly for all of these years. And when I reflect on why, I think back to all the times that I was told these stories around it, around menstruating, the language that we use around it. When I think of birth, the terrifying stories that are shared. I remember my mom, bless her, saying, I think you just forget about the pain, otherwise you'd never have another child. It's like, my gosh, how bad is it then? It must be horrible.
It must be, for sure.
And we have to do that. Totally. And then to go through this experience, and to start from the start, we conceived during 2020. That wonderful time. In actual fact, it was a blessing. We transitioned to work from home instead of being in the office. I was able to rest in the comfort here as I worked, instead of having to do the commute and whatnot. So actually for me, I felt like it was quite a blessing. And then as we started to look towards the birth, we were looking at the local hospital here. I had actually been trying to get on with the midwives who were based in Cochrane, and I thought you had to wait until you had an appointment with the doctor and they tell you you're officially pregnant.
Yes.
Like, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yes, totally.
Before I applied for midwife. So I did that. They do the appointment at 11, 12 weeks. And I went in and she told me all about pregnancy, and here's a couple of giant books, which I never ended up reading.
Yeah.
And then I said to her, well, are you going to check? And she's like, check what? I'm like, check that I'm pregnant?
Yes.
She's like, well, if you did the test and it came up positive, congratulations, you're pregnant.
Wow.
I was like, oh man, I thought there was going to be more to it or something like that. So anyway, I went home, did an application for the midwives, never heard back. I was talking to my friends who had the midwives and had such a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
And she said, just keep reaching out. And so I did. And
wow.
All through my pregnancy, I went through the normal stream, which is totally fine, did all of the checks and all of the check-ins, and they asked me, what do you want to know? And I said, I don't know, because I don't know what I don't know.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Totally, yes.
And then at 36 weeks,
Yeah.
so I was very close, I was a month out from giving birth.
Yes.
I managed to get on with the midwives. It was just divine timing. The girl on the phone, Lindsay, who is a beautiful soul, she said to me, would you consider a home birth? I have a midwife who loves home births, and you know, you need a midwife out here to have a home birth unless you have a sovereign birth. And I said, oh sure, yeah, I'd consider a home birth. Hadn't thought about it once before.
Wow.
Because it wasn't my path. It wasn't the path I'd heard of. It wasn't the path that I'd thought of. But I really wanted the midwife.
Yes.
So I got off the phone and I thought, oh, a home birth. Okay. Came upstairs, said to Ben, what do you think about a home birth?
Oh my gosh. I can see his face. I know Ben. I can just imagine.
I think you're right.
What does he look like? Yeah, exactly.
Is that a good idea?
Yeah.
Is that safe?
Yes.
Yes. And I said, honestly, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Salina.
I haven't thought about it. I just got asked, and I really want to get on with the midwives. And I said, yes, we'd consider it, because we would. We'd consider it. We're considering it right now.
Yes.
And he said, I don't know about that. I don't know if I feel safe with that.
Yes.
And I said, I don't know either, actually. But I said, let's meet with the midwife. So we went into Cochrane and we met with the midwife, and I remember her saying to me, you know, we're not in the business of taking risks, unnecessary risks.
Yes.
If you want to have your baby at home, you actually have to be low risk, which is the same as the Canmore Hospital here, which is our local hospital.
Right.
You have to be low risk.
Right.
Otherwise, you go to Calgary if you want to birth in the hospital as a higher risk patient.
Yes.
And I thought, man, okay, well, if you are the same risk level to birth at home versus Canmore,
yes,
and if something goes wrong there, you're probably going into Calgary anyway. So what does it matter if I just spend my time at home to start with and not have to transfer?
Great questions that you're asking yourself. Yes.
Yeah. So also, just to note, this at 36 weeks was the first time that Ben had come into an appointment with me. Because of COVID, he was not allowed in the appointments.
Wow.
And so he really, you know, he waited at home for me to come back and tell him, this is what they said, this is what, here's a picture. And, you know, it was very disconnecting for him.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for many mamas who had that experience during COVID, it was a trying time. It was hard. And for the partners, it's so difficult, you know, if you're not allowed to even come along, it's your baby too. If you're not invited into the space, I think that can be really disconnecting. And so when I spoke to the midwife and said, is it okay, my husband's going to drive in with me because we're coming from Banff, it's in Cochrane, can he wait in the car, or is there a waiting room? And she said, he can come in.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And so I remember I was there in the room, and she was just kind of feeling around, because at 36 weeks they were just looking to see what position baby was in. And she said to Ben, come over here. He'd been sitting on the couch.
Oh, Salina.
She put his hands there, and she's like, that's your baby's head. And just the look on his face, I was like, this is so unfair that he has not been able to be involved up until now in any kind of way that you'd really want to. So I really loved that model of care.
Yes.
The ability to kind of bring the partner in. And so we went forward. We planned a home birth. She came out here, and we showed her around the house, and
Yeah.
she was like, "Did you want to give birth in the bath?" And I was like, "Can I?"
Wow.
I thought you give. I assumed it was on your back, on the bed,
Exactly.
like, right?
Yes.
These are the stories.
Maybe some straps would be brought in.
Maybe.
Belts, maybe. Yes.
So I was like, yes, of course, I love that. And that's what we did.
Yes, you did. There are pictures on that you've posted so kindly, showing this
Yes.
this beautiful ritual.
Yeah, as an option. And you know, for me, I ended up having a labour that just went like this. It was smooth, it was beautiful. And I really put that down to being in a safe space. This is my home. I feel comfortable. I feel safe here. I feel nurtured. And the people that I invited into my space were people I felt really safe with.
Yes.
And, you know, I remember when I birthed Kira, I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. This is the thing. This is the thing I feared for so long, that I was terrified by. And it couldn't be more opposite to that. It was heart opening. It changed my soul. Honestly, it just expanded my whole view on this thing. And I thought, that is such an injustice to have for so long feared it, talked about it in certain ways, and then to realize why this is something that in the past that our ancestors considered a rite of passage.
Yes.
And so after that, tell me if I'm skipping ahead too fast.
No. I'm actually picturing everything in my head because I've seen snippets of the before, after, all of that.
Yeah.
This truly, it's a sacred passage.
It is. Yeah.
And we have lost that in our society.
I think and not through women's fault. I think as a society we're selling this story.
Yes.
That you don't have the power to do it, that you need to be treated like a patient, that you need to, that this is a medical situation.
Exactly.
And for some, it may be.
Yes.
But it is truly a very small portion of people that is the case. For many, in your power, it is absolutely possible to have a beautiful birth experience.
Yes.
And uninterrupted, undisturbed. You know, I spent my time on the ball. I moved to the bathroom. I was in the water. My God, the water felt so good.
I can imagine. And you brought up this safe space. So it's proven, and I don't have a biology background or anything like that, but in my lifetime and experiences working with kids of all different ages, working with people who are in very vulnerable situations, including with the elderly, with my mom, for example, and those who have conditions like dementia, in and out of hospitals and homes and things like that. Our nervous systems, when they're in that place of fight, flight, fear, that is not a place of safety. And most of these environments where we are to be receiving care don't nurture that feeling of, I can breathe. I'm in a comfortable place. There are fluorescent lights. There's noise. There's sounds going off at all hours of the day and night.
Yeah.
Versus this. This beautiful sacred space of the home.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And birth is a natural physiological process.
Yes.
And so we have these responses as we move through the stages, and then you're taking the woman and picking her up out of her safe space, transferring to a car, transferring to an ambulance, whatever it is, your mode of transport, and you're now going into a new space that is unfamiliar. It smells unfamiliar, it looks unfamiliar. You may be being monitored in a different way with things on you. It's a very different way. And then they're surprised when labour might stall.
Exactly.
When things slow down, because the body is wise. It knows that it's been taken out of its safe space, and that progression just halts. And you know what? It's a smart thing to do, because when you move into a car, maybe you don't want to give birth in the car. And I know it happens, but for a lot of people that will stall or slow the dilation, the progression of labour, and that is a smart thing for the body to do.
Absolutely,
because it's transferring.
Exactly, and that protective impulse, which is so natural.
Yeah.
The body's doing what the body's meant to be doing.
That's right.
Yeah.
and allowed to unfold undisturbed. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that.
Yes.
That continues. And I saw that in both of my births. They both ended up being relatively quick. I think just because I knew I would be here, I was safe, and once it started, there was nothing that interrupted that process. I had people around me that made me feel safe.
Yes.
And I had my home, the smells, familiar smells. I had the candles. I had this view that I look at every day. It's I think there's a lot to be said for staying in your safe space.
Yes.
So, yes. So the body is wise. The body is very, very smart, and birth as a process does what it needs to do. And unfortunately, with where we've moved to, we've normalized the medicalization of it, which is fine, and in some respects very needed.
Yes.
In many, it's not. And so when the body does that, when it stalls, when it holds back because it's now trying to get comfortable again in an unfamiliar environment, we've put these time limits on things in our system that says, inside this box, you get a tick. But for many, many, that is not the case. And they'll say, oh, actually, you've gone backwards, or you haven't progressed in however long since we've admitted you, you're failing to progress. And actually, I think, was it Kristen Nagel that you had on here?
I did have her, yes.
So I think she was tagged in I think it's Birth Advocate on Instagram. They said in one of their posts, failure to progress is failure to wait. And I love that, because my body will birth differently to how your body births. And my time frame can be vastly different to yours. Vastly different. The way I menstruate can be different to the way you menstruate. However many days doesn't mean that I'm doing it wrong, or that I'm broken, or that there's something to be fixed here.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't do it the same as yours. We have this really wide spectrum of normal in physiological functioning for women.
I love how you're bringing this up. Yes.
And so in a system that doesn't allow for that, that really brings it down to you. And I understand that we do that to minimize risk. But what we're doing instead is starting this cascade. We talk about the cascade of interventions as we're starting that. So we're saying, I'm sorry, you haven't progressed according to my timeline. May not be yours, but that's okay. This is what we're going by. So we're going to induce you. You induce, and that shot of Pitocin, which is not a natural, it's a synthetic, which is not natural, then kickstarts things. And going from here to here without having the time to work up can be extremely confronting and painful. And so then we say, would you like an epidural? Of course. You are in pain, like great pain. That is, you don't have that gentle workup. Your body hasn't had the time to do its opening and to thin, and you know, and the baby really is also a big part of this, and we'll talk about that later. But we're now pushing forward. We're now starting to really like hammer things in. So let's move it on. And now your body is struggling with that, of course. That we then find that baby isn't ready to come down, but we're telling them it's time. And so they're not progressing down either. So maybe they're stuck. Maybe we'll pull them out forcibly. And they've got many wonderful methods to do that. But if you go back to the very start, and sometimes these things are needed, and that's fine. In situations that they're needed, that's great. But if you go back to the very start, what if we just waited? What if we waited?
What if we just waited?
You get to 41 weeks and we say it's time to pull baby out. What if baby's not quite ready? What if we waited another couple of days and see how things unfold then? I find it very interesting how we like to get things to happen. Let's do the sweep. Let's do the induction. Let's get it going. Well, it's interesting because a lot of the studies that they've done with babies and mothers in birth is that the baby itself releases hormones to signal to mama's body that it's ready to go. And they do a lot, it's this beautiful dance. It's honestly, it's like an orchestra. The way the hormones play off each other and baby communicates, and then things start. So when baby signifies that they're ready, by the release of their hormones, mama's body starts to do its process too. And so you will start to thin, and the uterus will start to lift, and you know, these things can take days, they can take weeks in some women. Like honestly, things will be working in the background, and if we allow it to unfold, then it's this beautiful dance between my body and my baby together. It's not me saying you need to open your body to release baby when we say.
Yes.
It's allowing it to unfold. And so baby's role is so important.
Yes.
The way they descend, the way their head positioning is to open mama, the way our uterus opens and the fundus comes up, and it's beautiful. Honestly, when you look at the physiology of childbirth in a natural setting, it really is this intricate dance of hormone release and the way that things are physically opening. And when we rush one or the other, baby may not be ready. My body may not be ready for whatever we're going to do to it. And so allowing that time to unfold really means that your baby and your body are working together to do this. And
honoring that.
Regardless of what some obstetric gynecologists have said in the past, we are designed for this.
Oh,
we're here. We're here.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
The miracle of all of it, the conception. When you think about what you were doing in the days, the months leading up to this birth.
Yes.
It was all unfolding.
Yes.
And so why at this point is there this?
Yeah. I know. And it is, I understand the medical system, how you manage a surgery. You know, if you're planning an open heart surgery, there's procedures, right? And there's timings and things. Allowances are within this realm, and that's totally fine. But this is not that. This is a physiological process, and we're all so different, and we need to accommodate for that, and we need to allow it time to unfold. And every woman can take whatever level of comfort that she has, but if you are open to allowing that physiological birth process to happen, it can be incredibly empowering. So
wow, that's so much, this journey. And I mean, Salina, you're someone who up until having your first child, these thoughts didn't cross your mind. And so for those of you listening, there's always possibilities. And these soul to souls are really conversations that perhaps will spark something in you. And I really encourage you to listen to your heart. If there's a curiosity bubbling up, go with that. Go with that. Whether it's you as a new mama or a mama to be, or contemplating motherhood, just in life, don't ignore those signs. That's why Salina's here today. And how did your learnings, through this process with Kira, impact your second pregnancy and birth?
Yeah. Well, firstly, my mind was blown after I had Kira. I was like, that just happened, and that was amazing.
Yes. Of course.
So for me, and I think I've been quite honest in how I came into that birth, it was from a place of, I thought I'd been doing my homework, but really there was so much more to it that I hadn't even come into my realm of possibility.
Yes.
So for me, going into Jai's birth, I had new possibilities available to me, and so I had him pretty much where we're sitting.
And you have some beautiful photos if you want to check out on your Instagram page, video and photos.
Yes,
I mean, you're so open about it, and we appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Well, when I was preparing for Kira's birth, I was trying to find positive stories, especially once I knew I was having a home birth. But even before that, I did a course with Hayley Molina here, which I now teach, the Well-Rounded Birth course, and it has roots in hypnobirthing and so many beautiful aspects to it. And because of that, I was trying to find the positive stories, and I found it really hard. I could find 1,000,001 traumatic stories, and there are, and birth trauma is a real thing.
Yes.
But I was trying to seek out these positive ones, so in my mind, I could visualize that happening for myself, and I found it hard. So for me, it took me a while to get there, because I think you have, there can almost be a guilt to, wow,
Yes.
I got to have such an amazing, empowering
Yes.
experience, and I know not all did, and
Yes.
that can be really hard. But yeah, then I put myself back in my shoes of me actually coming into this, never having a child before, and
Yes.
looking for that positivity and struggling to find that. I feel like there is more and more coming out now, thank goodness.
Yes, exactly.
But that's what kind of swayed me to think, no, I need to share these, because it can be that way. If we choose that, if we step into our power, because it's not as easy as saying, oh, well, I'll choose this, because there is still a lot of fears sitting in here, right?
Yes.
There's still what we've been told, and it's sitting right in here. It's been there for so long, over and over. Kind of reclaiming that possibility.
Yes.
Can be a hard road.
Absolutely.
It can take work.
Absolutely. It's these limiting beliefs, right?
Exactly.
That we then fall into these conditioned behaviors and these default mindsets. But the beautiful thing is that these are thoughts.
Yes. That's it. And our thoughts can be changed.
Absolutely. And that's what you were doing.
Exactly.
In searching out, without even realizing it maybe.
Yes.
Searching out these positive stories.
Yes. Yeah. Creating those new possibilities and
Yes.
understanding how it can be so. And the course that I did with Hayley really
Yes.
speaks to that. There's the visualization pieces, and there's the affirmations, and those, they really do settle in.
They definitely do.
Yeah, and I did my homework before I had Kira. I was listening to those affirmations. I was doing the visualizations, and honestly, the birth ended up being even more beautiful than I'd even imagined. But I think that really shifted for me, because before that I was terrified.
Exactly.
I was. And then I thought, holy shit, and I'm going to do it at home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And my husband's not a medical doctor.
And he's not sure about this.
And he's not sure. Exactly. he can run fast and lift heavy things and do a lot of great things,
But this isn't his area of expertise.
It's a little bit new to both of us.
Yeah.
But there's that, the sense of the empowerment, I think, came when you were able to face some of these limiting beliefs.
Yes.
And it's so transferable in life, right?
It is.
You're facing them, you're questioning them, not from a place of judgment,
No.
but with curiosity and compassion. And but what if?
Yeah.
If there's another way?
And who says?
Says who? Yeah, exactly.
Who says mine has to be traumatic?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's part of this method that I use is called Says Who, and that's exactly
Love
it. We
it.
start with Says Who.
I love it.
Giving birth has to be traumatic and painful, and working through that.
Yeah.
And then as you did, you didn't just say, no, it doesn't feel right to feel that way. I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel better. I don't like that this is consuming my thoughts. You chose to release that, but replace it. So these affirmations, this is what a lot of people and women in this kind of situation, they don't have that. So what you're doing, how you've taken that next step to connect then these new thoughts into new behaviors.
Yes.
This is where the bridge is.
Yes. Yeah. It is. It's almost like a deprogramming
Yes.
and a reframing with
Yes.
new knowledge, right? With a new understanding and with new possibilities.
Yes.
And that, for me, Hayley's course, the Well-Rounded Birth course, opened that up for me.
Yes.
That was where I started to see, it doesn't have to be what I've heard
Yes.
in the past. It doesn't have to be that way for me. And I didn't want to choose what I'd heard because honestly it sounded awful.
Yeah, totally. Why would you choose that?
Yeah, and you know what? I know why we choose that because that's what we're told.
Yeah.
That's what we hear day in, day out. We don't realize that there's another way to do it, or it sounds unsafe, or it's scary, or, what if? But then I look at the situation that I put myself in. Had I gone that route, and the what ifs also were pretty clear. Like, what if I did go to hospital? I think I would probably have had interventions that would have led me to a different result.
Yes.
And again, that is fine. If you choose that, that is your choice. But to know what the available options are
Exactly.
and to make a choice that's informed
Yes.
is empowering.
It is. And when I say things like live true, live free, change begins with me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's being able to say, I'm making this decision.
Yes. Yeah.
from a place of peace.
Yes.
Not from a place of fear or stress or I must. It's actually being able to just say,
Yeah.
this is the path I'm choosing.
Yeah.
And whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'll be ready to take that next step.
Yeah.
But not feeling the push that I must. And I
Yes.
think so many women feel that pressure in a lot of ways. But in this birthing, these expectations, these, like you said, these rigid timelines, if you're not dilated to this point by this point, well then this happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Why?
Yeah.
And, you know, I think as well, having gone through it, recognizing too that when we're birthing women, we get to a point where we're in a more vulnerable state. You know, I felt I was in an altered, and it was beautiful. But had I been asked to make certain decisions at that point,
Exactly.
I can see how things could have been different.
Exactly.
How I could have accepted different things and not had the result that I wanted or that I hoped for. And it's interesting.
Totally. And so with Jai then, the whole experience was different.
It was, and also it was still incredible. Instead of birthing in my bath upstairs, because my bath, whilst it's nice and deep, I didn't have a huge amount of room to roll around. I was hanging on to my tap. I actually had this thought just before she came through. I thought, oh my God, can you imagine if I ripped this tap off? I didn't know. I thought I was like holding it so tight. I thought, does Ben even know where the mains shut off is? Because I don't.
My gosh.
This is just before she's about to come through. I thought, please don't rip the tap off more.
Well, you must have been feeling such power too.
I was, and gratefully that hung in there.
Amazing.
So for the second, I thought, you know what, I'd love a birth tub. Like the birth pool, space to move around. So we did. We set it up right here. You can see where we are right now in my lounge room. And, you know, I know some people prefer to birth alone or just with them and their partner and midwife or whoever they choose. It can be a very small group. And I'd had that with my first birth with Kira. I had a doula.
Yes.
And I had my midwife.
Yes.
Both of them were only there for a couple of hours. It was just a fast. Honestly, I was labouring at home. I didn't think I was in, even though I had the timer, it said, it's time to go to the hospital if you're transferring. And I'm like, no, it's wrong. Because these are okay. I'm good.
Wow.
But then eventually Ben's like, do you think we should call?
Yeah.
I was like, sure, you can call. So they came out, and my midwife, I know some people prefer not to have a cervical, like the checks to see your dilation, because honestly, dilation, it doesn't necessarily, you know, you at 2 centimeters versus me at 2 centimeters, you might still birth in half an hour and I might still have days to go, you know, so it really isn't a great indicator.
Yeah.
I might have to bring my little...
No, that's totally fine.
See how it goes.
Totally fine.
But she did check. She's like, would you like me to check you? And she got here and she checked. She's like, you're 8 centimeters. I'm glad I didn't come any later.
Yeah. Wow, you were 8.
I was 8 centimeters, and she came within the next, I think, a couple of hours. And they have a second midwife who comes, and so one of them basically stays with mama, helps after, and then the other one weighs and does baby.
Yeah.
And that midwife did not arrive for the birth. She came after. She's like,
my
I was really trying to speed at the limit
here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't make it.
Wow.
So it was fast, and I think it was just because of the environment, but it was a beautiful, tight-knit little. I mean, you couldn't have fit many people in my bathroom anyway.
Yes.
But for this one, I actually invited my parents
to come in.
They live in Australia. They weren't able to meet Kira until she was a year old because of restrictions in traveling and whatnot. And I just felt that this was, I just wanted to invite them into the space. So they were here, and the week before I was due, my sister and her husband thought, we'll come out, we'll see you before baby arrives. Well, I went early, didn't I?
Yeah, exactly. Surprise.
And my brother-in-law is a photographer.
Right, I did not know that.
Yes, an amazing photographer.
Yeah, clearly.
And I said, if you're here, would you mind like taking a few photos? Because in my first birth, my doula was also a photographer.
Yes.
She took a couple of gorgeous photos, and I cherished them. At the start, I was like, I don't want photos. I could just imagine me looking horrified.
Yes, yes.
But I love them so much, and I was like, I just love a couple, and he took some really amazing shots, and I cherish those. You know, I'm gonna go bring a little.
And you know what? I have a commercial break because someone who's joined us, Lori. She was on. You probably know of Lori from Merkaba Health Collective. Yes. So Lori is one of my dear soul sisters, and she's been on Let's Talk Soul to Soul.
Amazing.
Our encounter was a miraculous. My encounter with Lori, meeting her, and then this evolution of this relationship here, where Lori, I will just share with everyone. Well, you go, you get Jai.
Great, thank you.
Yes, so for those of you listening, Lori, I know you're there too, and welcome to another amazing Soul to Soul. Yeah, we're actually like sitting right here where baby Jai, who's going to be coming down, was birthed. Pretty amazing. I'm just going to do just a quick little pan here. Yeah, looking out the window. But for those of you who are practitioners, including midwives, holistic practitioners, Lori is the creator of the Merkaba Health Collective, and it's truly a new paradigm in holistic health and wellness across Canada, and actually beyond. Lori has created and continues to create a nationwide directory of holistic health practitioners. And so for those of you who are practitioners, if you're interested in a yearly subscription, which would include Lori featuring you on various media platforms, there's so many benefits to be part of this community of practitioners that's growing. You will receive a discount promo code that I will include in the notes, Soul to Soul 10. So we thank Lori for her belief in our soul to souls, in the mission of uniting, of bringing people together, soul to soul, of trailblazing new ways forward, whether it be for birthing or other aspects of health or just being. And also for those of you who are joining and are not healthcare practitioners, wellness practitioners of all modalities, there is a membership that Lori is offering at no cost, and I will include the subscription code in the notes below. Oh my gosh. And right on cue, here he is. Look at this little kitty, baby Jai. Hi, welcome. Welcome, handsome. You see my curls? You see what? That's you. Look how handsome you are. Oh, you're getting so big.
Yeah.
You had a nice rest. Your mama's pretty amazing, isn't she? You know that. Yeah. Is that you, handsome? Wow. And even with your two little ones, so baby Jai's how old now?
He's 10 months now.
10 months.
I know. Only 10 months already.
And you know, I rarely see baby Jai out of like a snowsuit.
Yeah.
This is really amazing.
His little jammies.
All bundled up, I normally see you.
Yeah, we're usually out and about, strolling the streets. Yeah. But yeah, he was born right here.
Yeah.
I had the tub. I had my entire family here. My sister and her husband, my mom, my dad.
Wow.
My midwife and my doula came out, and again, it was only a couple of hours that they were here. I came downstairs and I just got comfy on the couch, just kind of leaning forward, and we got in the tub.
And the photos and video are absolutely mesmerizing. It's just, it's such an integration. Whereas birth was something so apart, it seemed.
Yeah.
But Here it's just this natural part of you,
Yes.
like breathing.
Yes, totally. And I think as well, I loved having my daughter here. So Kira,
Yes.
at the time, she was 2, and she came over, and while I was on the edge of the birth tub, she had like this she's got a little pastry thing, and she'd be just doing that, giving me kisses, and I loved it. And she'll talk about when baby Jai came out swimming.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But isn't that a story
Yes.
that you want to share?
Yes, and to normalize it.
Yes.
You know, I'd never, to be honest, I hadn't seen a birth until I did the course.
Yes.
And I saw some births in that. I was like, oh, this is what it can be like, or this is what it's like, because before that I'd never seen it. And so for her to be here and to normalize it,
Yes.
I think is a big step forward.
A step forward, and think of the generation, the next generations,
Yeah.
right? These young girls,
Yeah.
especially.
Yes.
Boys and men too, but these young girls
Yes.
then that are empowered to believe
Yes.
that, wow, this is just what I do.
Well, I
This
saw
is just
it.
what the body does.
Yes.
My mom did it. I can do it.
Yes.
And I had others guests on too, like Mandy LeBlanc,
Yes.
who's a local, Banff local,
Amazing.
who is doing just that.
Yes.
Is empowering young
So
girls
important.
too.
Yes.
And I love this. We see this with women now, reclaiming that.
Yes.
And it's this intergenerational wisdom
Yes.
that you're passing on.
Absolutely.
It's really incredible.
Absolutely. Well, and that's where it starts. You know, I think when I said to you about the birth stories that are the reason that I thought it was this, and same with menstruation. My introduction
Yes.
to it was, I didn't think that before I had it.
Yes.
I was actually, to be honest, when I think about it, I was excited.
Yes.
And then it was like, oh, sorry, it's going to come every month, and here's some tampons. And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just, you know, you're like, oh, this isn't a good thing.
Exactly.
You know, now I have to deal with it for the next.
Yes.
Well, I'm the one that has to have it.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. And I think, you know, that introduction, that rite of passage
Exactly.
to menstruation is very similar to our introduction to birth and
Absolutely.
motherhood, and that transition from maiden to motherhood is a rite of passage that we've really lost. You know, and I think
Absolutely.
we've been disempowered in it.
Yes.
It's been taken from us. It's been medicalized and turned into something that is no longer yours to have. It's something we're going to save you from.
Yeah.
It's something we're going to help happen to you.
Exactly.
It's a very different story to what it
Exactly.
has been in times past.
And what you just said there about, you know, I have to do this versus this Alana Joy Newton, another one of my guests, who's another amazing soul. She just shared this shift. Instead of saying I have to, I get to.
I get to.
This is a gift.
Yes.
I get to.
I get to.
And you know, I think of us
100%.
for menopause.
Mm-hmm.
For me,
Yes.
I would said, well, I'm just waiting for Mona.
Yeah.
So you know, so it became like this friendship,
Yeah.
not something for me to like
Yes.
fear or be worried about. I didn't actually.
Yes.
And I would joke. Okay, well, Brenda's leaving, Mona's on her way in. So, but you see, like, these are the stories, and I love sharing that with people.
Yes.
And I joke and say, well, you know what? I'd rather feel like I was in a sauna than out in, like, you know, a freezer somewhere, you know?
Yes.
But
See
it's,
a beautiful
you know, no, we got this little one there. It's these stories that need to be shared of these sacred passages.
Yes.
Right?
And that's it. And it's reclaiming that because, you know, the maiden to motherhood is obvious when we have a baby. And it doesn't have to be a pregnancy and a baby. It can be the birth of something you've brought forward to the world. Like the soul.
Exactly.
This has come from your womb space. It's been birthed into the world.
Exactly.
And you
creation.
had yes. And I think that there's a few factors to that. You know, there's a death and a rebirth. There's the initiation piece. You went through and, you know, leaping out of the comfort zone, having everything taken from under you, and then birthing anew. And that is so beautiful. And that to me is that transition. So whether you have a physical pregnancy and baby, you still have that transition from maiden to motherhood. And then we look to menopause, and it's this thing that's like, oh God, do we have to control our hormones?
Exactly.
Whatever. And that was the transition from motherhood to maga.
Yes.
And you know, going into these wise women ages should be revered.
Exactly.
This is an exciting time.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be met with, oh my God, like now I'm going to have to do this or do that or try to fix it in the meantime. We need to embrace, and when we do, we reclaim our power as women.
Yes. And there's that creative energy that just really doesn't want to be contained.
No.
And I think that more that women do, the more harm we do to ourselves.
100%.
And the body then keeps the score.
Oh, yeah.
So then, whether it's migraines or pains in the body or emotions that are just out of check with, or this feeling of, I'm just so disconnected. And you are.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yes.
It's paying attention.
Yes.
What is this telling me now? Because that doesn't have to be the way.
No, exactly.
And that's the gift that you offer to mamas.
Right? Oh,
That's what can you tell us about what you're doing with mamas? Your beautiful offerings.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so I think I mentioned the course that I did with Hayley, the Well-Rounded Birth course, was something that she developed. She's been teaching that here in the Bow Valley for the last 12 years, I think it was. Yes. And it has its roots in hypnobirthing. So originally, she was teaching the standard hypnobirthing course, with the course outline. And then she realized that there were a few different pieces that were specific to mamas here and mamas in this time, and wanting to bring some of those things in. And she owns Bamf Wellness Practice.
Yes, she does.
She's an incredible soul, definitely a natural healer. And I think for her, she saw these other components that really address the spirit and the intent behind birth and that transition, as well as the physiological piece, understanding that, how we can work with our body, with our baby, remembering these pieces.
Remembering.
Yes. Because it's not just something to be learned. This is, this is passed throughout our mother's ancestry for generations, and it's only in the recent times has that been taken from us.
Totally.
Structure and and reclaiming that allows us to kind of step back into that. And this course teaches not only techniques that allow us to work with baby and with our body, but also understanding why. What's going on in here that we are fighting against?
Yes.
How can we release that and work with it?
Exactly.
And there's a number of techniques that we use to do that, and some of those are rooted in that hypnobirthing mentality. And then there's also some beautiful pieces that she's brought in from her years of experience and having birthed her own 2 children.
Yes.
So, hello.
And that's something now you're carrying on.
Yes.
Isn't this beautiful how it's being passed? You agree. I know you do, Jai. Of course you do.
Well, it was so pivotal for me. Like I said, this was the first time I'd seen a birth and heard about a positive birth, and had this possibility put in front of me for me to address and say, maybe I want that. Maybe I'll choose that instead.
Yes.
And then having the tools to actually make that so.
Yes.
Because I think it's one thing to say, I trust my body. You must trust I trust my body. But also understanding that rational part of my mind wants to work with it. How am I getting out of my way to let my body and baby do it? Because that monkey brain is busy doing its thing.
Exactly.
And so that course for me really helped me to understand how I could get out of the way of that and allow this to happen instinctively, naturally, physiologically.
Yes.
And so I reached out to Hayley at one point because I thought, well, Jai's birth will be the test. Maybe I had a fluke and got lucky with Kira.
No.
So I met up with Hayley again and did a refresher on the Well-Rounded Birth course before I had Jai, and his birth was incredible. Just as empowering, just as beautiful. Honestly, these are those things that you're going to have a flashback at the end, because it was just so beautiful and just really stood out for me. And I thought, no, these techniques, these tools, the preparation that I did using what I learned from her enabled me to carry through and have that experience. So, I thought, wow, I wonder if she would take on a student, because I believe so strongly in women having the opportunity and the possibility you choose it, you don't, it's up to you, that's totally
Yes.
fine. But to have that foundation and the chance to have an empowered birth is so important to offer that. And so she said, by student, do you mean you? On text. And I was like, yes. She's like, absolutely, let's meet up. And I think the timing was just perfect. Her girls are in their mid-teens. They're growing up. She's got her business. And she's like, I'm actually looking to, like, I kind of felt like it was time. And I'm like, we can't lose this in the Bow Valley. Like, for mamas here and for mamas anywhere, honestly, to be able to have these tools. And like I said, it's not, it has its roots in hypnobirthing, but it is not the straight hypnobirthing course by any means. It has a lot of other components that I think just work so synergistically with everything else that's in there. So I started mentoring under her, and we had 3 beautiful families come through recently, and we've got another one coming up planned in June. So we're excited to be able to offer that. I think Hayley and I will do the next one together, and then after that it'll be me carrying it forward.
Well, there's this whole, again, this birthing.
Yes. If you had asked me 10 years ago, I would never have said...
Exactly.
No. I'm not interested in doing birthings. But I just feel like it's an injustice for people to not have that chance. You know, I was lucky that one of my best friends here put me onto that, onto doing that course. So I did it. But as you heard, like, I really didn't have an understanding. I thought I had an understanding of what my options were and what it was going to look like generally. But there was so much more information out there, and just to have that opportunity was amazing. So I'd love for other mamas to just know that these are your possibilities, and when you choose, that is your choice. And you're empowered because of that. It wasn't because someone told you so. It wasn't because of society. It wasn't because I did this that you need to do that. Absolutely not. And I think that that's the cool thing about this course, is that it's not directed to home birth only. The tools and techniques can be applied anywhere that you birth. God, you can birth on the moon and use these. But it allows you to understand how you can work with that. And so then you can be in that full spectrum and utilize it. So
I love that. And you know, what I also love too is this whole, that it's not like, so for women, and you know, those of you who are out there and thinking, I just don't know enough. I don't know enough. Salina, you are a beautiful example of someone who went in with, you know, all of this technical knowledge. There's something need to be said about that. However, it's this intuition, the intuitive sense, and the innate knowledge that you have as a woman. You have the knowledge. You have everything you need within you.
You do,
Right?
And it's trusting that. Like, that really was a leap for me. You know, I remember when we first told mum and dad, I'm like, we're thinking of a home birth, and they've always been such amazing supporters, but they brought up the same question we did. Is that safe?
Exactly.
Are you sure? Well, at the start I wasn't. I didn't know. But, you know, having had both my children here at home, I think one thing that I've realised is you don't need to do a trial run in that system to realise that your body can do it.
Oh, I love that.
Because your body can do it.
I love that.
You just need to trust that it can, and prepare. You know, we spend how much money on preparing for a wedding for one day, and yet a lot of people do very little to prepare for the birthday. We might educate ourselves through pregnancy, I think it's really different. Or we might kind of look at the price of a doula, for example, and say, oh my God, I can't spend that. This is a day you will never forget. No matter which way it goes, it is such a rite of passage that it will stick with you. And I hope that more women can have beautiful experiences that stick in their mind as the most incredible day of their lives. And so when we think to the preparation that we do for other big events and big days in our lives, well, we need to put that in perspective. So for me, when I chose to bring a doula in, you know, that's something that's not covered under our healthcare here, I don't think, anywhere in the world. But I wanted that woman with me and to help create and hold that safe space, and it did. And that was an expense that I remember saying to Ben, I'm like, this is the kind of day I've pictured for it. And I want to do everything in my power that I can to try and have that. And so, you know, when we talk about expenses, I'm like, well, you're not the one that has to live with the experience. I live with this, you know. I mean, Ben and I got married. If we ever got divorced, I'd probably get married again. And like, you know, you spend all this money and it's like, well, this is always going to be my baby. This was always my birth experience. I think that there's a lot to be said for, we give away our power. We just say, I'm just going to show up at the hospital on my 41-week day if I haven't gone into labour, and you know, it's in their hands.
And I'll have my little backpack, my little suitcase ready to go, and I'll have the nursery all set up.
Yes,
right.
And we put so much effort into that,
on the
which is fun. It's beautiful. Yes.
But there is really this remembering, and I think with this is what it's all about.
Yes.
We're shifting, I think, societally, and I know you agree, Jai. Right? We're shifting back to this remembering.
Yeah. And not to get all feminist, but we do live in a patriarchal society that runs on a clock that is so different to how we work as women in a cyclical way. And I think, you know, in the work that Mandy does, you know, we understand that there are these phases, and much the same with birth. You know, there's these phases and these stages of motherhood and pregnancy and everything, and we just want to be able to bullet point it and put timelines on it, and that doesn't work for everyone. In fact, it doesn't work for most. Some of the things that we're running with, like the timelines, are so outdated in the data that they're utilizing. It just is not even reflective of the true nature of things as we know it, the way women birth these days.
Totally.
So I think it's important to recognize this and to look into it and to sit with yourself and think, how do I want this day to be for me? And how much do I trust in myself, my body, my baby?
Yes.
And not just blindly, but actually looking into it and understanding that. Oh.
So curious.
We're mobile these days.
Yeah, totally. Well, Salina, I'm so sorry. I could sit here and talk forever.
This is
so beautiful. And you know what? Maybe we will do another part, but just for our audience, how, you know, reaching you through Instagram, your We Are Women Rising.
Yes.
Your website.
Yes. So the website is Women Rising with a B.
Yes.
Womenrising.com. You can also find it under benefhypnobirthing.com.
Okay, and I'll include that in the notes too. Yeah.
And then Instagram is We Are Women Rising.
Yes.
Because we are, you know, this is time to reclaim that power back. We don't need to be outsourcing these things that are innately ours.
No.
So.
And you know, I know you've got an in-person group.
Yes.
That's meeting.
Yes.
And is that based on those who are taking the course?
No.
I just kind of want to, if you could just differentiate or explain that.
So actually, I'm in a mentorship, and it's called Honouring the Mother. It's by a beautiful woman, Amber Rose. She's a ceremonialist, and she really has reclaimed a number of the rites of passages that we experience as women. The one I'm in right now is a group of women that are exploring those ones that honour the mother.
Yes.
Because I feel for me, I remember when I had Kira, and through my whole pregnancy, no one had ever touched my belly. You know how they're like, oh, is it awkward when people touch it? I'm like, well, I haven't even seen anyone because we're not allowed out of our house pretty much. So the pregnancy kind of came and went. Like it just kind of happened without any thing. And then when I had that experience, like I said, it was like soul expanding for me. I couldn't believe it. It changed my view of everything. Even though I'd been working towards it and had these learnings, to actually have had that experience, I was like, this is wrong, that we're being fed, you know, these horrible, terrifying stories and things like that beforehand. But I also felt like there was little celebration. Not that things need to have a big show and dance about everything by any means. We never did a gender reveal, I'll tell you that. But you know, I feel like this was something that just as a woman with my network, my women, that this is something that as we birth and give life through this portal,
this miraculous. Look at this little miracle here.
I felt that it should be something different to just people sending a text message of congrats, which is lovely, but there should be more to it, and it's something so incredible that it should be met with something a little more, and I want to bring that to other women in the future. And
I love this.
So I think as we we can sit together as women, we can sit in circle, and we can recognize the importance of something that you've just done or that you're about to walk through, that we do it together, and that, you know, you're not on this journey alone, and that what you did was incredible.
Exactly.
Or going to be incredible. I think is so important because it can be so lonely in this world. Postpartum can be terribly lonely. And so I'm hoping to start bringing people together in that way. So watch this space.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, it brings us back to the beginning. We're kind of like circling back.
Yeah.
That this is what it's all about. Creating these sacred spaces.
Yes. Yes.
And that honor all of us, no matter what our age, no matter what our stage of life. And it is in these spaces that our nervous systems are able to find ease, feel safe, and really, it's the miracle zone. I really believe it is.
Yeah.
I see it with my own mother.
Yes.
And through this journey, her dementia journey, and all of the transitions and the trauma that's happened.
Yeah.
She is the most at peace I've seen her in decades.
Amazing.
And miracles are happening.
Yeah.
Because I too am. That's the only reason why I'm doing these kinds of things. And not rushing back and forth. And hovering and trying to fix. And save. So there's so many common themes that unite us. These universals. And this, having these kinds of conversations, is what brings them out. And we share that. Isn't it amazing?
Well, it's that remembering, right? As women, we have so many rights to reclaim and so many things to remember. And I love seeing like the work that Mandy's doing and the work that Kristen's doing, and you know, this all together is taking us back to where we were before, when we weren't exhausted and pushed into spaces that we're not designed to be in.
No. I had Audrey on just was it last or 2 episodes ago too. Same idea. She's in Costa Rica. It's the same. It's the same thread. And there's many of you and us out there, and this is what it's all about. It's opening doors to conversations. Would that be with your neighbor, a friend, joining us on a soul to soul, sharing a comment, sharing this video, you know, getting on to follow Salina, see what she's doing. And I mean, to encourage you that this path, this beautiful path, is one that we appreciate. And that's what this is. I really wanted to make time to acknowledge you, and I thank you with this beautiful little Jai here, who's made his guest appearance right on cue. Right on cue, right handsome, right on cue. Thank you for joining us. And your mom too, okay?
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's honestly an honor to sit with you. I love the work that you're doing.
It's all soul-led. Like you.
It should be. It should be. We haven't done that for so long.
It's all part of it. So let us continue on with our days. Thank you so much for joining us, friends, for sharing this beautiful news. We just never know, right? Like, let's just scatter some seeds and see where it goes. If you do have any follow-up questions, you're welcome to send a message to me or to Salina. And I look forward to our next Soul to Soul. And Salina, who knows where we'll be joining, where we'll be meeting again.
Maybe just down the stairs.
Exactly. Maybe down the stairs outside. Who knows? Yeah, for sure. Thank you, everyone. And Lori, thank you also for joining us. Merkaba Health Collective for supporting us. There you go. You got a big cheer from Jai. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao. Have a blessed day.